Hello, I'm James Walsh, or James Anderson legally, and this is my evaluation of my solo performances. So, I'd like to say I'm reasonably content with how they went, although there's a lot to be improved on. I feel like I gave the tracks justice and kind of emphasized the points that they bring through their lyrics and the meaning behind the songs. I like to say that I projected that through my own stage presence and through the way that I performed them songs themselves. The highlight of them was definitely my stage presence, I'd like to say, because that was just my strong suit from the beginning. Well, not from the beginning, but for when I was on the mic, I was a lot more moving and kind of able to bring it to the crowd rather than playing guitar where I was kind of stood still. But it definitely improved as I went along as well, like with the stage presence, because in the original runs where I only did one song, it was Jocelyn Floors, the first track I did. I was moving, I definitely brought the stage presence, but it was nowhere near as much as the final song. I feel like the confidence definitely built over time, although I'm not a very confident guy. I really struggle with that. But when I get up there, I'm much more able, out of nowhere, to just kind of bring it to everyone. So I feel like the strongest point for me was definitely the stage presence and just bringing it to everyone. I kind of just pulled it out of me, and I feel like it's the emotion of the tracks kind of resonating with me and making me able to do that, because it's evident that when I'm playing guitar, it was a lot harder for me to move and really show the energy of the tracks. But when it's me speaking it and feeling it, I can kind of bring it out better, if that makes sense. So I was much better able to kind of perform the song rather than just sing the song, in a way, if that makes sense. But I feel like, yeah, my core strength was definitely my stage presence, and I'd like to say breath control, because man, them songs really, especially the third one, Kill Yourself Part 3 by Suicide Boys, that song is really tough breath control wise, so it takes a lot of thought, and it's quite easy to slip up if you forget a slight breathing slot there. There's only 2 or 3 in the first verse that are really optimal to take breaths in. And that's how the original guy, Ruby the Cherry, he did it in 2 or 3 breaths, which is unreal. I managed to do it in 3 and a little bit, which I was quite content with. But yeah, I'd say those are the core strengths. But in terms of what didn't go well, in the first track, Jocelyn Flores, I'd like to say that I really struggled with the vocal part, not the rapping, the singing part, because by nature, I'm not a singer. I play guitar and I rap. That's kind of my 2 big things. And singing was never something I really got lessons for. I never looked into it too much. Everyone would like to be a singer, but I just kind of thought my voice is too low. I can't go high enough consistently for that. So I never really went into it. So it was evident that kind of in the tech runs and the previous runs, I was nowhere near as comfortable with singing it because I just didn't know how. So I stayed very low and didn't really move the notes up too much. And that was definitely my weak point there. Although I did kind of improve on that in the final one, going a bit higher, but I just didn't have the confidence behind it to make it work. And it kind of makes me cringe to watch back. I can't stand it because I just didn't. It wasn't like the rest of the performance where I really brought it with energy. I kind of sat back in my shell and didn't want to be out there. And that's what messed me up in the final thing, I think. But I'm sure it's not as bad as I think in my head. But I don't know. But yeah, I'd say that definitely sticks out as my weakest point in the performances. And in future, I'm definitely going to crack down on my singing because I'm not letting that happen ever again. I really was not fond of it. So I feel like a lot of that was down to just the spontaneity of it, because I didn't know I was going to be rapping for my final performances. I thought I'd be playing guitar, but then I had an injury to my right hand at work with the big bandage on, which meant I just could not play guitar. So I had like, I want to say a month maximum to learn the songs ready. Although I did already know them, it wasn't to like a performance standard. So I didn't have nearly as much time to learn the songs and prepare and be ready for it. So I was instantly kind of really nervous about it because I was like, oh my, I'm so behind. But I'd like to say I still managed to pull it off. I mean, the grade says I did, but I don't know. It felt rough. It was difficult. But in terms of stagecraft, I'd like to say that was kind of definitely my strongest point. I feel like it wasn't kind of seemingly too rehearsed, where it seemed a bit corny, but it wasn't like in the moment spontaneous. It was, I'd thought of, okay, I want to make everyone stand up. I want everyone to be in this with me. And I kind of wanted everyone to move a little. I didn't want it to be a dead set crowd of just still statues. I didn't want that at all. That's really tough to perform in front of. So I'd like to say I brought that out to an extent, although in an exam of solos, it's kind of harder to get them to move in contrast to, let's say, the ferret performance, which everyone moved considerably more to. So I don't know, I feel like my confidence was definitely there. I feel like it just needed a bit more projection at times, especially in songs like Jocelyn Flores with the singing. My confidence wasn't there, and in future I need to be able to focus on that a lot more and kind of bring that out of me better, because otherwise it just won't be as good. And it really bothers me that I wasn't able to do that to like the best of my ability, but it's just a note for future. I need to focus on that more, and I'll have more time in future to crack down on that and really focus on it. So yeah, in terms of rehearsal, I really just focused quite hard on doing it in my room, doing it to friends, doing the whole repertoire. I'd sit in practice rooms in college and just say, right, sit and listen, tell me what I'm doing wrong. And that helped me so much. For example, the first track, Jocelyn Flores, I'd be with Neve, who sings as well, and she'd give me pointers on the notes and kind of where I'm meant to be hitting it, because my natural instinct was to stay nice and low where I'm comfortable. Karis made a point about that to me. I was staying where I was comfortable, but it just didn't work well like that. And I didn't come out my shell enough for the final thing, although I did make an attempt. I just kind of thought, oh my, I'm not comfortable with this. So, I don't know, I feel like it was very beneficial having Neve there, because at least then I did see what I was needing to do and I did try. But in future, definitely, I need to be able to bring that out. But I can't talk today. In contrast to my drafts and the tech run, my final one, I'd like to say, was far better, because I had the energy with me there. I was in a very emotional state due to circumstance previously, and the songs I chose for my repertoire were quite emotional songs. The first one, Jocelyn Flores, being about an artist who hired out a model for a brand clothing shoot, and she got accused of stealing money, but she didn't actually, and she ended up killing herself. And due to circumstance that happened to me before that, that song really resonated with me, with the lyrics and how it made them feel after I'd just lost a friend. And you know, it really hit hard within me. So I feel like it just made me bring everything out when I did that song, and kind of just go absolutely everything to the wall, apart from the singing part, which I really wasn't comfortable with. But when I was doing the actual rap verses, I really brought everything out, and I'd like to say that was a strength. And I was quite happy with that. In terms of Love the Way You Lie, the second song, that was, I'd like to say, my second favourite to perform. I find it really fun having Neve there with me. She was just singing in the background, but it adds a lot of layers and depth to it. And I love that song so much. I feel like the lyricism is really key when you listen to it. Although, like, Eminem's actual flow and rhyme scheme is incredible in that song. And the way he projects it, I think it's really impressive. It needs researching. It's really impressive. But that's the same with all of his songs, to be fair. I could go on, but I won't. And then the final song, Kill Yourself Part 3 by Suicide Boys. That song's renowned for its difficult breath control in the first and second verse for different reasons. The first one's a lot faster, it's literally like an A-B rhyme scheme, but it's just so difficult because of the speed and the words used with the syllables. It's like 2 or 3 breaths maximum pretty much for the whole first verse. So you've really got to get the air in while you can, and kind of, you can't expel too much breath with a couple words, although there's a lot of then emphasis put on certain words that becomes difficult because you're using a lot of breath for that. So luckily I had that down after, you know, loving that song for years and singing it for years. So I was ready for that. But yeah, I feel like overall the 3 songs as a repertoire worked really well together. The first one being a slower, sadder start, although the verses aren't really. They're very powerful, really meaningful lyrically. And then the second one, Love the Way You Lie, being about heartbreak and this awful relationship, and that brings a lot of energy out of me as well. And then the final one, Kill Yourself Part 3, being about the artist's feelings of just kind of loss. They were at a loss and they didn't know how to project it other than making music, and that's how the Suicide Boys became a thing. They felt they had nothing left in life, so they thought, you know what, we're gonna try a music career as our last thing. If it doesn't work, we'll see. And that's where the name comes from, Suicide Boys. So they just gave everything into their music, and they just talk about every feeling, every emotion, every way they were feeling about it. And that really resonated with me in the moment as well, as a result of circumstance. And it just helped me bring everything out and really give it everything I had. And I feel like that was my favourite song to perform by a mile. I really enjoyed it. So I'd like to say that overall it went pretty well. I'm quite content with how my solos went, although in terms of things to improve, I feel like my breath control in the final song, Kill Yourself Part 3, in the second verse could have been a bit stronger. I'd done it stronger in the tech run than the final one. However, it's still, I'd like to say, was pretty good. Then the second song, Love the Way You Lie, I kind of, in the second verse, lost myself a little bit. I lost my footing in the rhyme scheme because it's a bit more confusing compared to the first one, and it took me a bit longer to kind of go into because it comes in on an offbeat and it's just a bit hard to maintain, especially breath-wise. But that's kind of the theme with my tracks, difficult breath control. But I don't know, I'm quite all right at that, I suppose, ish. I don't know. But yeah, in the first song, the weak point was definitely the singing part, which just needed work. I've kind of focused on that a bit more now. After the performance, I was really kicking myself, so I took my time to get better at that. If only I could do it again, which I can't. But yeah, I'd like to say I'm quite happy with them overall. And I feel like due to circumstances that had just happened, I really did well to bring it out of me, because on the original date I was meant to do this performance, I was really not doing great. There was something that happened in my personal life, and it just kind of made me feel like I wasn't able to do it, and I was kind of giving up. Really, I really felt like giving up with music as a whole career. I didn't, well, everything as a career. I just didn't want to, I felt like giving up. But I feel like with the time that Karis generously gave me to kind of go to the end and do it at the end, after watching everyone else, it brought it out of me, and I'd had time to reconcile with the feelings, and it just allowed me to give it my all. It really did. And I'm really happy and thankful for that. Thank you, Karis. Thank you, Simon, for everything. And yeah, this has been James Walsh. Thank you very much.